If you own any kind of a business, especially if it's an online business or if it relies on any type of online social advertising, you are really at risk of losing your entire business. And I know that could sound a bit extremist, but I know so many people who have lost huge audiences and also like huge revenue because they came in one day and their YouTube channel, their email account, or even their hosting was just gone. There was no warnings, there was no reconsiderations, and there was definitely no recourse. Everything that they've worked for, everything that you've worked for is gone. And I never want that to happen to you. So in today's show, we're going to discuss how to plant your digital flag in a way that no one can ever take your digital footprint away from you. Welcome back to Renegade News Live, where freedom lovers like you can learn how to create a cancel-proof business, make a bigger impact, and break free from the system. And then create the kind of income and the free time that frees you up to pursue your entire life's mission. I'm your host, Glenn Kowalski, and if you can give me a 5, that's right, just type 5 on the comments right now. I'll send you my Renegade Business Cheat Sheets, where you'll discover the exact system that we're using to make sure that your business becomes completely cancel-proof, even in this supercharged cancel culture environment. I want to give everybody kind of just a chance to kind of log in a little bit. So I just wanted to talk about Elon Musk a little bit. He's probably like one of the most biggest free speech topics that come up right now in the news. We're hearing a lot about him and with his takeover of Twitter and how he's supposedly going to help us bring back free speech, get rid of cancel culture. And I'm wondering what your thoughts on that are. Just sort of type in the comments. Also type in the comments if you want to say hello. Just let me know that you're watching. I'm going to try and check those every so often. And if you have any questions as well, I'll be checking those and be answering those questions. Well, what do you think about Elon Musk? I mean, he talks about freedom of speech. He says that he's a freedom of speech absolutist even. But we know that he's also started canceling some journalists. He's blocked a lot of Twitter accounts already. He's done a few things over the years that makes you kind of wonder if maybe he really is the freedom of speech proponent that he says he is. Now, back when, a couple years ago, when we really started to see cancel culture coming up, I know that we were, Twitter was starting to cancel people for, especially, alternative health information was a big one that you were getting canceled from. And I got into a lot of arguments with my lefty friends who were like, well, don't you agree with freedom of speech as a private company? Shouldn't they be able to censor anything they want? Should they be able to do anything they want? And I kind of had to go down this long, protracted discussion about how, well, A, we're not really living in a true free market. There's crony capitalism, and certain companies were getting favors by governments, which was making it very difficult for others to compete. So that made things really difficult in a lot of ways, because businesses that didn't have these favors, these tax breaks, businesses that weren't big enough, they couldn't compete in that same free market. So that was kind of part of it. But the other part was, it's one thing for a private business owner to want to shut down a message or want to censor their own space, something that they own, their business that they own. I mean, I have that right. If you comment on one of my videos, even if I want to block you, I can. That's my right. This is, my living room. Don't crap in your friends' living rooms, as the saying goes. But the problem was, it was the government dictating what these platforms would allow on their platforms. And that I see as a problem. That's real censorship. That's not a free market doing the job of a free market. That's government dictating what your opinion is, what you believe, what you can see, what you can speak. And back when we talked about it back then, it was still kind of this, almost this conspiracy theory. It was a conspiracy theory. A lot of my friends said, well, this isn't really happening. It wasn't the government shutting it down. Now that we've gotten the Twitter files are starting to be released, we're realizing that that was the truth. The government was going to Facebook. The government was going to Twitter. They were telling them what they could put on their platforms. And that's censorship. And that's what I mean by real censorship. So that's different from Elon. Now, however, with Elon Musk, there are a few things that have stood out to me, like him wearing NWO attire to different events, him talking about how he approves of the censorship of messages when he was speaking to the EU, for example. So I'm not sure. I mean, I want to like Elon. I really do. But I don't know that I can. Like, what are your thoughts? Put your thoughts in the comments and let me know that you're out there. Let me know that you're watching. And just kind of let me know, and I'm going to try and we'll have a discussion about that, because like I said, I would like to like him. I like his message for sure, but I'm just not 100% sure that he is who he says he is, and that it's not just a big advertising ploy. So I guess we'll see. Anyway, welcome back. I'm glad to be here. And if one of your dreams is to have a cancel-free business or to still enjoy freedom of speech, it is great to see you here. We're exclusive today on YouTube. We've decided to go that route for a little while. We're not on Facebook right now. We're not anywhere else. We'll see how that works out, whether we'll start streaming to other locations in the future. But one place we're definitely going to be starting to stream, starting in January, and we're super excited about it, is to Float. So we're going to start live streaming on Float. Shout out to Kingsley Edwards over there. Super platform. Super exciting what they're doing over there, and I can't wait to get started on that. Hey, Trent, what's going on? For some reason, my monitor isn't working. I'm not seeing these comments popping up, so I just checked you. I just saw you're in. Great to see you, Trent. Trent's a good buddy of mine. Super excited to see you. And he mentions that Starlink is going to be used against individuals, and that's definitely a concern that I have as well. There's this piece of me that just doesn't trust what he's talking about, and well, we'll see. I guess we're going to see what's going to go on. Our take today, before we really get going, I just want to talk about who our sponsor is today. Our sponsorship today and our show today is brought to you by Renegade Summits, which is freedom summits for freedom lovers. And they have a brand new virtual summit. We have a brand new virtual summit that's running on February 2nd until February 5th, where there's going to be at least 17 speakers, experts in their field, who are going to be discussing creating a cancel-proof business and making more of an impact while you're doing it so that you can create a bigger income. We got some great speakers on board already. Kingsley Edwards from Float is going to be there. Super excited about that. We have the video business guru, Owen Video. Can't wait to see what he's got to say. We have a Speakers Hall of Fame and agorapreneur, Terry Brock. Always awesome to listen to. Always a super speaker. Web 3.0 financial genius, Jake Claver is going to be there. We got so much more. We got a great lineup. That's February 2nd to February 5th. You can go there and register right now, 100% free. Just go to cancelproofsummits.com. You can register completely free. I can't wait to see you there. If you have any type of business, or even if you don't have a business, if you ever go online and if you care about freedom of speech, this is the summit that you are not going to want to miss. So I'm looking forward to see you there. And today on this live stream, we're talking about freedom of speech, and we're talking about running a business specifically that takes those values seriously. Because in today's world, it's not easy to make a big impact if you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells. Start talking about freedom of speech in your business and how you can run a business where you're not constantly walking on eggshells. Because as we go forward, it's not as easy as it used to be to not get canceled as you speak. Things are getting more difficult. Over the last few years, they've gotten considerably difficult. Look what happened with Alex Jones. I mean, he was just fined over $1 billion, and the fines are going up for expressing an opinion. Now, whether you like Alex Jones or not, that's irrelevant. The fact of the matter was he expressed an opinion. He asked some questions that didn't agree with the mainstream narrative, and he's been fined over $1 billion. Get that number, like, huge for doing that. And quite frankly, he's broke because he'd already lost all of his channels because of being canceled, because of this cancel-proof culture. Hundreds of YouTube personalities have lost huge audiences when YouTube started to do big purges, and you'd see it. You would come in one morning and all of a sudden hundreds of them would be gone. But that's only the tip of the iceberg, and that's the part that everybody kind of realizes and everybody knows about. It actually gets considerably worse than that. if you're running a business, you probably have some type of an email provider. Well, did you know that your email provider and your automation provider, I'm talking about companies like ActiveCampaign, Keep, GetResponse, Aweber, all of those, they can cancel you at any time they don't agree with your message. Don't believe me, just go read their terms of services. They can, and they do. They'll cancel for opinions that they don't agree with. They'll cancel for anything really that they want to cancel for. They can cancel you do it. They can cancel you as your business, and you're going to lose your entire list, which is just insanity. How they can actually do that. But that's still really only the tip of the iceberg. One of the big ones, and we've always known that they've kind of been one of the big 5 techs, but it's Google. And you probably realize that they've been shadow banning, that they've been pushing down results in the search engines. That's pretty public knowledge now. But I've talked to a lot of people who don't realize they can shut down your entire Google account. You know, your Google Drive, your Google Docs, your Google Sheets, all of that. If you just happen to store a document on your hard drive, on your cloud drive for Google that they don't agree with. I mean, it's bad enough that you already have zero privacy and they're reading all your emails and reading all your tweets and tracking all your tweets in all these big 5 tech platforms. But the truth is now they don't just sort of own that digital life and own all of that information. They can also shut it down and thereby shut you down at any time. And another one, what about your website host, the place that you're actually hosting your website? Do you realize that they can shut you down as well? Look at what happened with Parler a few years back when, it's back in 2016. Parler actually got shut down because all of the AWS servers that they were on got shut them down. They didn't agree with what they were doing with the platform, so they shut down their entire business. And that's true for almost any platform that you work on if you aren't careful with who you actually work with. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, how to know how to know that you're safe and how to be safe. But the truth is today, like, you have basically zero privacy. And if you have an opinion that's different from the government, that's different from that tech monopoly, then they can and will shut you down. And the problem is there's no signs of this changing. Just look at recently how many celebrities have left Twitter because Twitter has advertised under Elon that they were going to allow freedom of speech. We're going to allow freedom of speech on the platform. Oh, well, all of a sudden you got all these leftist celebrities leaving in droves now because they can't handle it. They can't handle the fact that you could have your own opinion on something. They can't handle the fact that you might think slightly different than they are, and they certainly don't want to stand up to a debate. Heaven forbid they actually have to debate and show support for their opinion and why they have that opinion. So it seems that there's just a lot of people out there who really hate the thought of freedom. It's like they can't wrap their head around you being able to make your own decisions, you making your own decisions on what you can say and what you can hear. And all of those people are colluding behind this big tech monolith to shut you down if you don't agree with that opinion. So it's a problem. It's a problem, and it's getting much worse. And it's something, if you want to run a business, especially if it's a knowledge business and you're really talking about this stuff, and if you have like a conservative or a libertarian size bent, it's definitely more of a concern. But really any business should be aware of this because, I mean, you could be tweeting something in your personal life and have your business canceled because of this cancel culture. You have to know how to be able to defeat it so that you can have freedom. As I'm going, if you have any questions, put them up in the chat. I do have my chat monitoring up and running again, so that's working good now. So just let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to try and keep checking back in there and just making sure that there's nothing new, and I'll answer any of those questions that we have. But let's move on and look at, like, what do you need to do in order to build a business that's free from the clutches of big tech? How do you get out from underneath those claws that are just holding us down, that are shutting us up, that are blocking so much information and have been blocking so much information over the last few years. So much information, I'll add, that's turned out to be true, that was shut down for misinformation because it didn't agree with their policy. In order to do this, in order to run a business in this type of environment, the first thing that you need to do is own your own platform. You can't rely on these big five tech. You have to own your own platform. So what does that mean? Well, it means that instead of relying on those big guys, you actually go out and you create and build your own. And there's many ways that you're going to be able to do that. But one of the ways that you want to start is making sure that you've created your own products. And I'm talking primarily to, right now on this topic, influencers, especially like influencers, potentially affiliate marketers to some regard, but more like influencers who are advertising products, or YouTube celebrities who are relying on ad income and ad revenue. So anytime that you have to rely on ad revenue from your platform or on the sponsorships of others, your entire platform can disappear in just a heartbeat. And you can never rely on a tech platform for achieving or advertising or running your business, whether that's through free content and ad revenue, even if that's ad revenue that depends on you running ads for your business. Everyone knows that getting shut down on Facebook right now is super easy, especially in ads. I mean, you can get canceled from 8 degrees of separation from somebody that you've never even met because they've had some connection to you. Facebook somehow dug out that connection to you and you get shut down. I've seen it happen myself. It's not a conspiracy theory. They admit that this happens. Somebody does something, you happen to have worked on the same client in the past, for example, they shut you down too. It's that crazy. And anybody who relies on that, even if it's working great for you, if all of your reliance is on that platform, you're just asking for your business to be shut down overnight. You have to have alternatives. And that means alternatives for where you're posting your free content, your YouTube videos, your influencer videos, those types of things, and also for where you're running your advertising. And also where you're generating your income. By having your own products, maybe that's your own course, maybe that's a physical product, maybe it's some kind of subscription service, those types of things. By having those that you own, they can never be taken away from you. And that's a huge, huge first step. Most influencers, most YouTube celebrities, and I'm yet to meet one that doesn't fit into this, can have their own products. If you think that your business couldn't have its own products and you're an influencer or you're a YouTube celebrity, get in contact with me and we'll talk. We'll talk for 10 minutes, absolutely free, and we'll discuss where you can go, what kind of products you could actually come up with for your business. The next thing is the platforms and the tech platforms that you're working on. And these are a huge thing. And these are a huge part of having a cancer-proof business, well beyond just having your own products. I just wanted to get that out there. The tech platforms are really where we help a lot. And there's so many solutions that can get your reliance off these big five tech started, and any time where you can set up these platforms that you actually own and control. One of the big ones that I love is called Nextcloud. With Nextcloud, you can actually replace all of the Google services. They have spreadsheets, your Google Sheets can be replaced, your calendar, your documents, your drive storage. All of those things can be stored within your own Nextcloud set of services in a way that you actually control and run that information. It's actually yours. It's not sitting on somebody else's platform whose policy says that if they disagree with your opinion, they can shut it down. Another program that I want to talk about is one called Mautic. And this is one that we love. We use this daily. And it replaces things like ActiveCampaign, like Keep, like GetResponse. It's a marketing automation system that allows you to own your most important business asset, which is your email list. If you are on, especially an online business, but I'd say any business, your email list is probably the most important asset that you own. That's something that you definitely want to control yourself, and Mautic is a tool that helps you do that. You also want to do things like looking at owning your own platforms for your website and your web presence. rather than relying on some other platform like ClickFunnels. And I don't want to beat up on ClickFunnels. I like ClickFunnels. I've worked with ClickFunnels in the past, and I've never heard of anybody actually getting shut down. Whether that's happened or not, I don't know. But the fact is, it is somebody else's platform, so they could technically cancel you. Same with any of them. Optimize, Convertry, any of those other builders that are out there that you can build a landing page on. If you're sitting on their platform, they can cancel you at any time. So you want to own your own web pages. You want to use, some type of an open source platform like WordPress on your own servers. You want to use maybe straight HTML as an option, or go with something that's at least freedom of speech friendly, like a Ghost. We just recently moved our blog, renegadenewsonline.com, over to Ghost, and we're loving it. It's super fast. It loads faster than WordPress by far. It's super easy to set up. It's super easy for our workflows to flow through it. But what I love about it is the platform itself is geared at freedom of speech. It's a underlying value of the company that's actually running the hosted servers we're working on. But if you want to, and you want to take it another step further, you can actually run it on your own servers, and I'm going to talk about that in just a bit as far as the final thing that I want to get into. But by moving to these platforms that are freedom of speech friendly and that you control, you have so much more ability to keep those assets in-house. It's like handing over your money to a bank that you don't trust. And a lot of people have trust in banks. I got a feeling the people listening to my lives probably have a little bit less trust than others do, because we kind of see what's going on. But it's entrusting your assets to somebody else whose opinion can completely shut you down. Another area, one that I want to talk about, was PayPal. Look what PayPal was doing. PayPal introduced a new fine of $2,500 if they said that you had misinformation on your website. Misinformation being, of course, anything that they disagree with. We saw what misinformation was over the last few years. So much misinformation turned out to be true. And now PayPal's gotten into the fray. So that's why you want to use platforms that are freedom of speech friendly for your payment processing. You want to use things like Second Amendment processing, for example. And you want to accept cryptocurrency, because with cryptocurrency, you control your own money. And there's cards where you can use things like Now Payments or Globy Payments to actually accept cryptocurrency into your business. And you actually have full control. That's money that nobody can ever take away from you. And if you're interested in any of those platforms, definitely attend that summit, cancelproofsummits.com, because we're going to be getting deep into a lot of those types of platforms and services that are completely cancel-proof. But your platform itself is really only 50% of the battle, or half the battle, maybe a little bit more. It's certainly important, but there's one other step, and that's where you plant your digital flag. And we've talked about flag theory before on this channel quite a bit. We have some videos on it as well on the channel. And with flag theory, you're talking about where you plant different parts of your life. Talking about like offshore businesses, offshore second residency, second citizenship, those types of things. But the sixth flag that's been introduced over the last few years is your digital life. And that's specifically where you're planting your digital life and where you plant your digital assets. Those digital assets we talked about in the last section, like your email list, like your web pages, like your automation systems, like your files and your emails and your Google and your Drive docs, all your documents, your spreadsheets, all of those things. It's where you're actually storing those. And you want to plant that flag somewhere that is still very freedom of speech friendly. Unfortunately, most of the countries in the West, certainly the US, definitely Canada, with the new bills coming out, Canada's, from the digital side, there's zero privacy or freedom left at all in that regard. But any of these countries don't have that strong of freedom of speech, and they can look at your data anytime and do anything they want with it. you want to go somebody that's freedom of speech friendly. We love Iceland. We love Finland. We have a lot of stuff that's hosted in Finland. That's our primary base right now. Because these countries have very strong freedom of speech laws. They also have very strong privacy laws. And that's key. Like, your privacy is protected by law. So the entire backing of the state is geared towards making sure that nobody's dipping into your privacy. And you see it if you browse from the EU or you browse to EU websites, you see that the EU in general has sort of these general big privacy laws, although they're not necessarily in those cases from the government. Places like Iceland, very freedom of speech friendly. Finland, very freedom of speech friendly. And you can find companies there who's also believes in those policies. Obviously, you need to trust the actual company that you're dealing with, but there are hosting companies within these freedom of speech countries that have freedom of speech as a strong value in their company. Bellhost is one. That's one that we deal with a lot. There's a few others. So you want to be able to post your data and all of your information, your files, your documents, your automation system, your web pages. You want to put them someplace that's very freedom of speech friendly. Now, with speaking of freedom of speech is never absolute. And even with the companies you work with in Finland or Iceland, they're going to have terms of services. You know, they're still not going to let you promote illegal activities. You know, they're not going to let you exploit children, thank God. They're not going to let you promote violence or terrorism. So there are terms of services, but they're not shutting you down for disagreeing with an opinion, for having politics that are different from theirs. They're very clearly cut rules that renegades certainly agree with. If you're doing those kind of businesses that aren't supported within those hosts that I'm talking about, we don't want to deal with you, and so it's really not a concern. Hey, we got Naveen Harim coming in from Naveen Paramar from Norway coming in. It is so good to see you. I'm excited to see you here. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, so even though the freedom of speech isn't absolute, it's good enough for anybody who isn't a total dirtbag. And I just want to, like, as we kind of turn the tables on this, you really can, by being strategic, get your freedom of speech back. It's possible for you to have freedom of speech in your business, and it's possible to still make a big impact and not lose your business or have to feel like you're walking around on eggshells just because some snowflake might get offended by something that you have to say. But you can't keep doing things the way that we've been doing them and the way everybody else has been doing them. You can't continue to rely on big tech, those big five, and most of those big mainstream tech platforms that everybody's been relying on and using them. Because if your opinion ever differs from the opinion of those platforms, or differs from the mainstream narrative even, your business is going to get shut down. It's not a matter of when, or a matter of if, it's when it's going to happen. I've seen it happen to so many. I mean, I've been blocked, I've been shadow banned. I'm sure most of the people watching this channel have been blocked or shadow banned on one of the platforms at some point or another. Trent, buddy, you know it and I know it. We've both spent time in that Facebook jail. That's just sort of happened. It's happened to both of us a lot. But it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to feel like we're walking on eggshells every time we want to speak. And freedom of speech may seem dead, but it doesn't have to. Once you get away from those big five tech platforms and you move your data into a totally different jurisdiction onto platforms that you can actually own, you can get that ability back to speak freely. Now, like I said, that doesn't mean that I think you should go out there and become a total douchebag. It absolutely doesn't mean that. There are things like the exploitation of children that is completely evil. And you shouldn't be doing that. But if we leave it up to the government and to activist companies to decide what is acceptable and what opinions are correct and what opinions are acceptable or are not acceptable and what opinions should be shown and which opinions should be hidden, then we might as well give up our rights entirely to think. I mean, what are they going to take from us next? Well, probably it's going to be our right to exist at all. Now that's all the time that I have for today. Time to get ready for, the holidays coming up. But I want to let you know that you should join Renegade News Live next Friday at 12 p.m. EST. And that's going to be the next episode. We're going to be going live every Friday, 12 p.m. EST, on YouTube, exclusively on YouTube at this time. Eventually, float as well. We'll see about the other platforms. So right now, every Friday, 12 p.m., exclusively on YouTube, we'll be going live. And I'm Glenn Kowalski from Renegade News. If you love freedom of speech, and if you want to make a bigger impact while you're pursuing your life's mission, then you need to be a renegade. You need to join us right here. And I will see you next time here on Renegade News Live.